Hello everyone, and this is What If Civilization started over in Europe. So this is the, I believe, fourth episode, because yeah. So firstly, the Latvians over here decided to expand as the government realized that they don't really have to stop expanding. So they expand into Estonia, and they also go into Finland, where they gain a bunch of territory. And so yeah, they just do that because they feel like it. And so yeah, we just see this and that, and yeah. So the Latvians are now the Latvian Empire, which is pretty strong now. Anyways, let's go to Italy, where we can see an expansion here. However, the government has been found doing really bad deeds, like, for example, slavery and doing stuff. And because of that, many families decided to immigrate into the science team, which worked successfully, meaning that the government is absolutely cooked. And yeah, there's gonna be there are protests everywhere. So firstly, we have the golden team here, which is supposed to stop slavery, and not only that, but they're trying their best to unite all of Italy under one rule: anti-slavery and instead of slavery, dictatorship. The second one is kind of the same, except they are democratic and are not a dictatorship. However, the green team is pretty much the same, except they're communist. So we have three groups: the communist, the fascist government, the democratic government, which by the way spans through two parts, and the Communist Party. So now we're going to be looking at what they're going to be doing. So firstly, what this team is going to do is going to try and invade these territories here. Also trying to go to the coastline to meet up with Rome, which is somewhere over here. Color theory? What happened to freaking color theory? This looks like a whole different color from this. This looks so weird. Wait, that looks so weird. Wait. Do you guys see it? Do you guys freaking see it? It's so weird. Wow, okay. Anyways, the green team is pretty close. And plus they also try going here to try and take down slavery here. Meanwhile, the science team here actually realizes this and also tries doing the same, as they have been also hating on Italy recently. So yeah. Anyways, they create a naval landing here, trying to destroy the most populated areas of slavery. Not the most, the second most. And so, and then, yeah. Anyways, we can see there our second team going here and meeting up with the science here. And they decide to meet up with the other group, which works. And the soldiers from here come all the way here to this area, which they then pollute with soldiers and stuff, I guess. And the golden team has no choice but to gain the other territories over here. instead of like further on. And then the dictatorship surprisingly decides to declare war on the Dark Cyan team, and they get destroyed. Their government lost, meaning that the government is now in this territory instead. And the gold team eventually is closer to Rome. However, the green team will not give up. They're really close to Rome. And now from here, the two teams are closing in, and they're splitting Rome. Now there's a battle over here happening, which is now in the favor of the green team. However, then the cyan team comes in and splits it away, and captures Rome. However, then the gold team joins in and tries teaming up on tries teaming with the green team to destroy the cyan team, which then a military coup in Rome eventually stops the war, and we're going to go to the peace treaty. So in this peace treaty, we can see that firstly, the Croatian country gains these territories. The green team gains these territories. The Italian blue team is still here, doing terrible, actually, because Rome is taken down by the communists, and the democrats are still here. However, there's a new war against the communists and the democrats. And now the Dark Cyan team realizes that being with that having an alliance with Italy will be better, as Italy is now strong because of like trade now, because it happened like a month after the war. After the treaty, and it works. The blue team, they're doing well, and they're pushing back the gold team. The cyan team gets some military help by the blue team, and they push back the golden team, and create a separate military offensive, trying to take down the golden team and pushing them all the way to Sicily, where they're going to live there forever. However, that doesn't go right, as there's a naval landing here. It destroys the capital city of the cyan team, and the cyan team is forced to leave the war. Like right now, they're just dead. They're taken by the gold team, and the gold team, it pushes back throughout this, and also areas here are also taken. And the blue team has nothing else to do. However, then the green team tries helping the democrats, which works. The democrats are back. And the blue team also brings back the lands that they lost. And the green team is now in favor of the democrats taking down all of the southern Italian territories, except for Sicily. However, this plan doesn't really work out, as the same thing happens again. The blue team loses. However, the green team has nothing to do now. because like there's nothing they can do now. However, then the green team realizes that you know, since they're on the losing side, it will make sense for them being on the winning side, which then they came to the winning side. They decided to be with the golden team. So then let's bring that back. Wait, is it only just my eyes, or is it like so different? Wait, it feels different. Wait, that's so weird. Anyways, the green team decides to push back into these territories from the blue team, and they are targeting the dark cyan team, which they do. They go to the northern territories, and the golden team also pushes them back, and the dark cyan team, then they lose. Basically, they just lose. However, the dark green team also takes down this encirclement, and the blue team is about to be gone. However, then the blues decide to expand here, but it fails, which means that there's nothing else to do but to give up, which happens. Following this peace treaty, the dark cyan team gets annexed by both the countries, and the blue team now shrinks up to this part. And now there's only 3 parts here. The capitalist part, which is not democratic, by the way, is full-on capitalist. People have some rights, okay? Then we have the communist side, which does have rights, and the fascist side has no rights at all, meaning that there could be a possible thing. There could be a possible rebellion. However, right now they're just chilling. The government is chilling, and there's nothing. There's nothing there. Now that I look at it, wait, I think I need to look at colors that are blue, because my eyes just see like it's 2 different colors. But the hue of it is like so different. Not like a tiny bit different, actually. Anyways, the cyan team expands like it normally does, like every single like last episode, and it's doing the same. Okay, the cyan team is a new country. Nobody wants to attack it. They're just pretty chill with it. They're just chill. They do not want to do anything with it. They do not want to do anything. Anyways, the Scottish country decides to declare war on the orange team, which is because these 2 became allies. However, this country is allies with them. However, ever since the grape Purple Country War, the Scottish have been quite in a suspicious. They have suspicious diplomatic friendship with Orange Team, which they eventually realized that they were, and they eventually blamed the Orange Team for doing terrible things to their train system, and also. Plus, most hijackers in aeroplanes and stuff are actually from the Orange Team, which is a huge problem for Scotland, as they think that they were put by the government. So the war starts. The Purple Country then decides to declare war on the Orange Team and the Grape Country, which is successful, sadly. Man, I was rooting for them. I mean, this is my series. I could change stuff, but you know, it has to be lore. The lore has to be it. However, then the grape country decides it stops all of that and pushes back. And eventually, from a tiny treaty, they annex southeastern territories. The grape country gets split in half, and the first one tries gaining more territory, and the orange team also does. However, the second one gets into the purple country's trap. Man, I did not expect a small country to actually do that. Anyways, they regain their lost territories, and the Scottish people here advance into Wales, where they create genocides and a single Holocaust thing, a similar thing to the Holocaust, basically. And so yeah, the orange team gives up, and I'm going to show y'all the treaty. In this peace treaty, we can see that we have the cyan team having Northern Wales and also a couple more territories. The orange team is absolutely cooked, and the grape country is cooked, and the purple country is doing better. Anyways, then the Germans and the French then decide to create a border treaty, where they create where the stuff should be, and in the treaty, this is the official border. However, there's only one secret I want to add. These territories and also 2 territories in the Netherlands. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But let me make an estimate of the borders like this to make it more better. And also this. So now this is the treaty here, and actually, I do not know how I feel about that territory, but whatever. Anyways, the German country here decides to have an invasion, and this time it is against these. I actually should start using this darker colors for like occupied territory, actually, for like dark countries like this country, like only those, not like these. However, surprisingly, the Danish actually win a battle, meaning that they gain this. But then then that happened. And the Germans are stupidly close to Copenhagen, which is in this island, I believe, which they go into. However, many border guards here and also ships explode and also kill the soldiers. And Denmark gets split, which the first part gets taken, and the second part lives on. This part also gets damaged a tiny bit. However, the Swedish tell the Germans that if they don't stop the invasion of New Denmark, which is actually the colony's name. There'll be let's just say World War III. World War One. I mean, like only what this is World War. So in this universe, if there was a new World War, it'll be technically World War One in the series. However, in the timeline, it's gonna be World War III. Just as you know, because yeah. Anyways, the Germans don't listen to the Swedish, and they do, and they continue it. However, the Swedish give out a second warning, which, by the way, just so you know, because of failed like technology, the Germans thought that the Swedish were talking about some gunpowder exchange, but no. In all reality, it was actually just to back off of New Denmark. Anyways, the Swedish tell them the second time, just in case they didn't hear it, and the Germans actually go away from New Denmark, and they get pushed back. And speaking of which, they also get pushed back in here, and get pushed back all the way to here, which is where the weird parts come in. Boom. A new naval landing here. It destroys troops here, and now we have a new front for these people to for the Germans to see, where they see this. However, then the Germans realize that actually war is not supposed to happen, so they create a peace treaty. In this peace treaty, the Germans actually lost because they flew out some white flags around this border, and because of that meant that the Danish will have all of these, including this little bump thingy. And the reason why I was talking about the treaty is because it's freaking 22 minutes. I'm not kidding. Anyways, what could we do? Portugal, a new Portuguese country over here is now the the Irish, the New Ireland. Let's just say that New Ireland. Which yeah, we just do that, and yep, that's about it. Actually, I remember when I told you that the series was a mini series. Let's make a deal. Every 4 episodes, every time there's a multiple of 4 in the episode, it'll be a long episode, okay? Which is what I'm gonna do now. So now that we have the Turkish, which in fact are strong, and they gain territories, duh, they just want to do stuff. However, then they decide to meet up with the Greeks, which are not really happy about it. So there is a freaking conflict. However, it's not like with military or something. It's just like tiny little like proxy wars. However, I'm not gonna map it because I cannot. Yeah, I do not wanna, because I'm bored. I do not wanna do that. Anyways, the green team it has an ultimatum with the blue team, and the gold team does the same. Well, only in the same ultimatum, they send it to the blue team. Now it says that the green team will have these territories, and the gold team will have these territories, meaning that it's a win. However, at least there's still going to be a micronation over here, so it's still a win-win for both of them. However, the blue team says no. However, they eventually decide, fine, I do not want to create a second war, so let's just do it. I do not care. And so they do it. Okay, so now we can see that both of these countries are absolutely cooking the blue team, which could mean that after the death of the blue team, which could possibly happen actually, it could mean that there could be some conflict with these two, because without the leader of, like, all of that, there's nothing that they could really do, and there's nothing that they could really blame. They could blame the Croatians if they want to, for funsies. However, the Croatians are really strong. Even if they're small, they're still pretty strong. So there is a chance that there could be either a conflict here or a conflict here, or actually the worst choice of anyone's life, declare war on the Sign team. The Sign team, for context, is the top 5 military. They have the top 5 biggest territorial military. Now, what I mean is that every single country has a territory where the military is most active in. If for Turkey is these territories, except for these territories for some reason, which they change. This is the end of that. For Greeks, it's this territory that is for the military, and this territory for living space and stuff. This entire thing is military, okay? It's that type of dictatorship. This has... Wait, let me just put black. This is the more living space, and this is the military. There could be a possibility that they could switch, but you never know. This entire part is military, this part is living space. Wait. Yeah, that's right, it just split in half. This is the military, by the way. This is the living space. There's actually a bunch of groups in France. We have the military group, we have another military group, and just living space, and another military group. The Germans are different. Home. No, wait. Military. Home. Military. Home. These two are way different, actually, economically. I did not want to show y'all, like, all of them, so, there could be a possible map, which I'm actually gonna make. Actually, no, that was a terrible idea. I did not want to do that. I didn't actually do it then, okay? I didn't actually do it. Which actually, nah, we're not doing capitals. I am tired of capitals. They just ruin it. They just ruin everything, okay? They ruin the fun. Okay, I do not like capitals. Plus, you have to switch layers, which is so stupid. Anyways, yeah, we have a bunch of that, and yeah. However, then the Golden Team decides to have a tiny little war with, drumroll please, the Sign Team. I mean, that was actually a kind of a bad choice. However, just a tiny practice war. Just to see what happens. Which the Sign Team is also with. So firstly, the communist government throws out some soldiers here until the Sign Team pushes them back and takes them away. which they then have a bunch of military bases and lots of ships around Corsica and also here. However, then something happens. The communist team, thinking that it was an attack by one of their from one of their embassies, actually bombs Corsica and then takes land. And meaning that the Cyan team and the Golden team are at war with the communist people. So firstly, we're going to see instant karma lost here. Okay, here, that's better. Karma loss from here. We can also see a communist Italy trying to take down the wait, this is wait, bro, this is communist. Oh my, I keep on forgetting like all of the ideologies and in like every single country in this. Anyways, they take down the blue team for some reason. I do not know why. They just do. And so yeah, they're cooked. They're absolutely destroyed, and they're destroyed. You know, they're destroyed. And so the green government then says that they're hoping for a truce, where they only gain this and they don't gain any more territory. However, these two countries say no, and the Cyan team lets the yellow team take down all of the whole country. Okay, so in this peace treaty, we can absolutely see the demolishment of the communist green. Which I just realized something. Every time there's a war in Italy, it always ends with Croatia taking down a chunk. Is that a coincidence that Croatia is more Italian in this only in this universe? Probably. Anyways, the capital city is now replaced into Sardinia. So yeah, everything is okay. The Scottish, sorry, they're two entire different things. Just kidding. I mean, I do not know. You can tell me. But anyways, they have a landing in Norway because they just feel like it, and they attack Norway for a tiny bit. And then the Swedish, they come, and they tell them that if they attack Norway, they're going to absolutely gonna cook them, which the Scottish do not listen. Thinking that it's another error, they say it again, but they do not listen again. Meaning that there's a whole conflict with Sweden and this, which I think maybe is because of let's just say historical fightings. And so actually Norway decides to create a military attack over here. Now it is actually a separate attack from helping the Norwegians, but whatever. Eventually the war ends, and Norway takes back all of the territories. So now all we have left is stuff. See, now that's what I call a trio. Finland, you might be next, but I do not know if. Anyways, Estonia. Estonia comes and does stuff. Now Estonia, if you do not know, if you're American, it's basically a country that is like, you know, thing. It is another country near the Baltic Sea. And, you know, yeah, stuff happens there. And so, yeah, the Estonians are back over here. However, the Latvians don't really like this. However, you know, at least they get a couple ports over here. By the way, the Estonians also asked Latvia if they could also... Are you kidding me? Anyways, they asked if they could gain this, which the Latvians say that they could. Only the northern one. And they do. And they also asked the Latvians if they could split this, which actually the Latvians are actually way more comfier with the Estonians as it's their new border. So they decide, you know what, we're going to be allies, and they do. And so yeah, this looks like a freaking pentagon at this point. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, so this is what the map looks like now. So bye.